Hello, beauties. Are you struggling to plan, prep, get ready for, have ideas for dinner time or any meal time for that matter, and just to settle on something that your kids then outright reject? Well, I couldn't understand more. And I went from feeling completely uninspired, bored, stressed, annoyed, frustrated, to feeling so easeful, so peaceful. My kids stay at the dinner table longer. We enjoy more family time. And that's really what it's all about, right? So I'm going to show you a simple strategy and a framework to make this possible for you as well. This may seem like a really practical episode, and in a lot of ways it is. But the underlying framework is quite meaningful and profound if you apply it to, yes, meal times, but other things in your life as well. So stick with the whole episode and I'll show you how meaningful this strategy can be for your whole life. First, if you don't know me, hi, I'm Valerie. I'm a mom of two, and I help mothers just like you go from feeling overwhelmed, anxious, stressed, to easeful, calm, peaceful, knowing what matters most and what you truly want in the world. Ultimately, I want moms to feel, and women to feel, as powerful as they are, to experience the full range of their power in this life, and to have more joy and purpose and fulfillment, even with kids in tow. I truly believe that motherhood is a vehicle for spiritual transformation, and that's the way I treat it with all of the ways that I support women. So, welcome to my channel, and let's get started on today's episode. So, we're talking about making food, right? Food is one of my love languages. I love preparing it. I love grocery shopping. I love coming up with ideas. I love big food projects that take all day on a Saturday. And before I had kids, I got to do all of those things. I spent so much time in the kitchen, coming up with fun meals, hosting people at my house, just absolutely love food. It is one of the ways I care for people. It's one of the ways I care for myself. And after having kids, I realized that was slowly being sucked out of me, till I got to a place a few years ago where I was just completely drained, uninspired, and frustrated. And it led to, obviously, as things do when we're mothers, when we feel a certain way, our kids get that as well. And they were feeling bored, uninspired, frustrated by meal times as well. They could feel my exhaustion with the whole process, which made them not want to cook, which made them not want to eat, which made meal times a power struggle. And I know many of you can relate to that. That's one of the toughest parts of being a parent, is 3 times a day or more you're sitting down with kids, and it can easily become a power struggle. And there's all kinds of reasons that can happen, from the child's development standpoint all the way through kind of what I'm talking about, which is much more from what I was creating in meal times and in the prep, and how I was feeling and how that rubbed off on the kids. So this summer, we were in New York on a long statewide road trip visiting family and friends. And on one of our long drives, I was listening to a podcast called We Nurture, which is led by a woman who was a Waldorf teacher, and all of her content is Waldorf-inspired parenting education and teacher education. And she introduced this concept of rhythmical meals. And in her preschool, she had an in-home preschool, and in her preschool, they cooked snack time, prepped and cooked snack time together. And then they also did lunch. And she said that she often would be the one preparing and cooking lunch, but a lot of the kids who really liked that would come join her as well. And basically they just had the same meals each day of the week. So every Monday they would have the same thing. Every Tuesday they'd have the same thing. And this didn't surprise me because my kids are also in Waldorf school, and the days of the week and and the routines are really, really critical to the way that they introduce important concepts and learning to the children. So, and it's been so transformative for my kids, just how much they love the routine. And she even went as far as assigning a grain to each day. And I think she did Monday was rice, Tuesday was barley, then millet, rye, oats, corn, and wheat. I didn't take the grain concept into my plan because my husband doesn't eat a lot of grains, so it didn't really make sense for us. But I loved the concept of creating a rhythmical meal plan. And basically, I created a 2-week plan instead of a 1-week plan. And I left it, with enough structure where we always know what we're going to have, but also with enough flexibility where someone like me who loves food and who loves being creative with food, I feel inspired still, and I feel still creative. So I'm going to walk you through what we did exactly. Okay, so here we are at my fridge. This is always hanging on the fridge. It's one of the only things we have. And I put it together pretty quickly. I didn't put a whole lot of time and effort into making it perfect. But basically, I took some meals that we really liked having. And when we were in that rut before, there were definitely some meals that my kids really liked, like sausages they really liked. So I kept that. They really like meatballs. So I kept something that could resemble that. That's on pasta night or can be. But basically, I kept it as open-ended as I could without making it overwhelming for me as the person who was preparing and shopping and doing all of that. And you'll see here I have often written like roasted veg or green veg or fresh sides, things like that. And that really points to, we have a farm CSA, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in a second. Basically, what I did is took those meals that I know the kids liked, took the meals that I know I like to make or are relatively easy to make, and I started plotting them into this 2-week schedule. You'll see, there's a day that my daughter cooks. There's Sundays are for leftovers. Friday here is culture night, and that's where I get to introduce like Thai food or Mexican. I would say Mexican, although we have a full-on taco night. And my kids really like Mexican food, so that's an easy one. But other culture foods that I get excited about, Chinese food or what have you. I've kept it, somewhat open, but also given myself some ideas of what I could serve. So here, the soup could be all kinds of barley soup, millet soup, squash, black bean, potato leek, some sort of bisque. I make a mixed vegetable and white bean soup a lot that the kids like. So this is the plan. And you can see, I just wrote it in pencil. I'll probably update it when we kind of switch fully into fall winter season because it's a little more summer focused, but I might not. I left enough open-endedness for my creativity and for the seasonal change in food. So how does it work? Each week, I basically keep that master schedule on my refrigerator all the time. And then I have another weekly kind of whiteboard schedule that I use just for family activities and everything that's going on throughout the week. And so I take the master schedule and I look and see if there's any days during the week that either my husband or I won't be home during the evening, because sometimes, honestly, I just pare it down a little bit if one of us will be gone. If he's gone, I sometimes might make it a vegetarian meal instead of a meat-based meal. If I'm gone, usually he'll make more of a meat situation than I would normally do, or he might just let the kids choose something fun. So I first do that, and then I take the master schedule, and depending on which week we're on, I kind of lay it onto my weekly schedule. And just if for instance I'm doing chicken and rice, that could be arroz con pollo. It could be this green goddess chicken that I love from Andy Baragani. It could be this roast chicken with schmaltzy cabbage that I love from Smitten Kitchen. So the idea is that, yes, it's chicken and rice or chicken and veg, but it's not always the same meal. And that is very key for me personally, keeping it interesting and keeping it fun, and for my husband as well. And for the kids, they know they're okay with a little bit of change in that sense. The example I just used actually with chicken, that one day for the 2-week plan, my daughter doesn't eat chicken. So she can have a different protein, fish sticks or cottage cheese or beans. And luckily she eats all of those. So that's usually her one night where she gets to sub. And the deal is that she has to eat the rest of the food that we serve. So it works out pretty well in that sense. So I basically start to kind of sketch out, okay, if it's chicken and rice day, which chicken do I want to make? And if it's taco night, what kind of meat do I want to use, if meat at all? If it's pasta night, what's the seasonal pasta that I'm excited about, And I kind of make those decisions. We are really lucky here in Northern California because we belong to a local farm, CSA, which just stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And it basically means that we're investing in the farm. At the beginning of the year, we're promising to, pay a monthly fee to share in the bounty of the farm. And here, the growing season is all year round. So our farm share is year round, and we get, I'd say 80 to 90% of our vegetables through the farm. We also get all of our beef, a lot of our flour, a lot of our olive oil, all of our eggs, unless some on, like right now they're switching over the flocks. So the hens aren't laying quite as many. So I might sub some other eggs from the store or from another friend. But we get a lot of produce. So I'll take a look at what I have from the farm first and foremost. And as you saw in the plan, I'll kind of slot in, okay, green veg, good, I have kale, or good, I have English peas, or whatever it might be. So I'll kind of slot in what I have. During the summer on steak night, we did steak salads pretty much the whole summer because I had tons of corn, tons of tomatoes, tons of cucumbers, avocados, all of those things that make a steak salad really yummy. So tons of herbs. That's another huge part of the farm share in making delicious sauces and dressings. So I'll take a look at the farm, and then I'll go last to like what I need to go shopping for. And my shopping usually consists of, once or twice a week at our grocery store here in town. And once a month I'll do Costco, but I often am just getting dry goods, some fruit, mostly nuts and dry goods, and some dairy. And then I'll also make a slot time for when I need to make any bread products. I'm a bread baker, so I'll make sourdough bread or sandwich bread once every week or once every couple weeks. I've gotten into, burger buns and tortillas, and sometimes I'll make pasta. So I want to give myself, a little bit of lead time the day before or the morning of to make sure that I can proof and bake if I need to. And then my prep the day of is actually quite easy because I've done, my check against what we have, what we're going to have. I've usually gone shopping. If I haven't, I'll pick up one quick thing at the store or whatever might need to happen, or I might change my plan if I don't feel like going to the store. But it just makes it super easy for me the day of. I used to get to 4 p.m. and go, oh shit, what's for dinner? I haven't prepped anything. My husband and I would be, texting back and forth. What do you feel like? What do you feel like? And it leads a lot less to the, oh, let's just order in, or let's just go out, or let's just have pasta kind of nights. And that's been really comforting for me because I do take a lot of pride in feeding my family really nourishing foods, and I find it hard to do that when I'm eating out a lot or just having those like mac and cheese type nights. So, which have happened many times, and they still happen, of course, just not as often. It also helps the kids know what's for dinner. There's no more questions. There's no more, hey mom, what's for dinner? They just can look on the schedule and know. And I have noticed that they are more likely to want to help when I'm much more calm about the whole process. I usually start much earlier. I, have things prepped or out on the counter, like ready to go, and they're excited to chop vegetables or to make a sauce. My daughter's getting a little older, so she can help me cook if I need her to, and if she's in the mood. So that's been really nice as well. I do want to say, though, that I have zero judgment for ordering in or going out. I love going out, and sometimes sis needs a break. So I will take those nights. Just last night, I was like, my husband's going out of town, my son's birthday, it was just Halloween, the house is a disaster, let's just order in. And so we did. And I feel zero guilt about that now because I know that I have a much more robust plan for the rest of the week. So that feels really nice and just actually feels like a treat instead of a guilty thing that I'm like, oh, I can't believe we're doing this again. So that feels nice. So what does this all lead to? What does mealtime look like now? Well, I'll tell you what it looked like before, which is my son wouldn't even come to the table, literally at all, for a good year, probably. And granted, he's 4, just turned 5, but he would not sit at the table. And I know that's pretty common, especially for that age, but it felt really good to see him return to the table. And I can chalk it up to like, oh, he's older and, he is getting over that stage. But honestly, I feel like some of it, or maybe even all of it, has to do with the fact that I feel much better about where we are with meals. He sees and feels the routine. The routine is doing its work. And even if he doesn't consciously register that, he feels it. And he'll come to the table now. And now both my kids sit at the table for the whole meal. And we make it's a really big deal for us. It's the only time that all 4 of us can sit at the table and actually talk and connect throughout the day. So it's a really big deal for us that our kids stay at the table, especially when they're this young. They're 5 and 10. And it feels really important to do that and to get that routine really, really solid. Because I know in just a couple of years, when my daughter enters teenagehood, she'll have her own thing going on. She'll have her sports or activities, and it's not always going to be this sweet and this easy to do. So it feels like a big deal. Overall, my kids seem calmer. They feel more willing to eat food, which was a big struggle for a long time. My daughter's incredibly picky and still is. It's not like she's gotten over her pickiness, but she's much more willing to try foods when it's in the context of like, I just saw this food 2 weeks ago and now here it is again, and I tasted it last time, maybe I'll have a little bit more this time. Or, oh, this is broccoli with Parmesan cheese on it instead of just plain broccoli, maybe I'll try that this time. They're just much more willing to be there and be present, and I am much more willing to be present because I am present, because I'm not worried about any of the other stuff that was stressing me out before, mostly guilt, honestly. I would just say overall that the routine is doing its work. And by that I mean routines can often set us free. I said at the beginning of this episode that you would see that this is more meaningful than just a practical strategy to plan meals, and this is what I'm talking about. I really believe that routines can set us free. I used to think that routines were boring, and they lacked spontaneity and it wasn't necessary. But now I actually feel like when you have the basics of life kind of solidified in a routine and a rhythm, it gives you the freedom to expand and explore and be creative in other ways in your life. So having this dinner routine really set and solid has allowed me not only creativity within the routine, which I didn't really expect to feel that. It feels even more creative sometimes, but outside of that too. Now, I'm not so, the frenetic kind of stress that I had before around that, whether it was conscious or unconscious, was affecting my ability to be expanding and creative in other ways. So they're actually an incredible foundation for, and that's exactly how we should be thinking about them, just a foundation to make life more joyful, more fun, more interesting on top of that. And what's more is a routine can really protect us from ourselves. And by that I mean when we're exhausted, or when our kids are begging, or when we're really struggling with the day, kind of the day-to-day grind. And I don't really love that word, but I know that's sometimes how people feel. The routine can actually protect our boundaries, especially with our kids. So really, having that, in this case, the dinner routine set, there's not a lot of boundary pushing around, well, can't we just have that? And I want mac and cheese, and well, let's just order pizza, because they just know ahead of time that it's done. And if you can take it a step further, and Chin-Yi Liu, the woman from the podcast, her idea inspired my plan. She talks about this too, taking it one step further into snacks and having snacks planned out just the same way. And knowing that if your kids are hungry at 4:30 p.m., an hour or an hour and a half before dinner, like mine are, starving, they often come home from school just absolutely starving, then you have a plan. It's cheese and crackers. It's whole wheat bread with avocado. It's carrots and cucumber slices with a little bit of hummus. Whatever it is, it's just already decided, so that there isn't a lot of like pantry raiding, for snacks and sugary things. I haven't quite gotten to that part, but that's my next frontier on this whole meal planning and routines. And beyond the expectations being set and met, and the calmness that the kids and that I feel around meal times in general, beyond all that, it's honestly made me feel more creative. And I kind of said this before, but it's made me feel more creative within the bounds of what I have set. So now I feel much more open and much more freedom to tackle big food projects. Like I just started doing kefir grains and, brewing my own kefir. And I'm a big sourdough bread baker, but now I'm entering the whole wheat, whole grain sourdough bread world. And so that's huge. And just taking time to make lacto fermented pepper sauces and condiments and things like that I feel like I would have been too overwhelmed with kind of the day-to-day. So now I'm really excited about those food projects that I might tackle on a weekend or even on an evening sometime, and really time to dig in. Just over the last few months, I've done fresh tomato sauce, I've done fermented pickles and peppers, I've done sourdough bread and sourdough burger buns, I've done sourdough crackers, I've done what I call super protein bars, I've done other kinds of bars, I've done granola, I've done my own jam. So these kinds of things I feel like are just coming out of me because the routine is doing its work. And I guess that's what I'll say. But if you'd like to see any videos of any of those food things that I'm working on, please leave a comment in the section below. And I'd love to hear what you're working on, or if you've tried something like this, or if you'd like to see future food-related videos, I would be happy to work on those. But for now, the thing I guess I really want to leave you with is that the dinner planning rhythm, the rhythmical meals, really connects us to life's rhythms. And for me, it's connecting me to the seasonality. It's also connecting me to the week's cycle. It's connecting me to the day cycle. And it's helping my kids feel that as well. And I love the seasonal meal planning. I never thought that of myself like that. It felt like a thing that fancy chefs do, but I really have enjoyed that part of it. And I also have really enjoyed the predictability. So my overall sense is that expectations being met is just so nourishing and satisfying to my nervous system and to my kids' nervous systems. This allows so much enjoyment of what we've created, and that's what I would love to leave you with today. And if you'd like to hear more on life's rhythms and cycles, please make sure you watch my last episode on attuning to life's cycles, where I dive into a couple of the life cycles, both external to us and internal to us, that can help, again, bring more calm and peace in your life. And if you're not subscribed to my newsletter yet, please click the link below in the description. I send about once or twice a month some practical tools and tips around spiritual alignment and intuition activation and getting over the overwhelm, and musings on motherhood and help on the motherhood path. So I hope to see you there, and I hope you'll stay on my channel and see what else is stoking your fire.